that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 431st edition. You think we're going to get to 500? Not this year.
Not this year, but it's getting there.
We're getting there.
It's approaching.
431st edition of Energy Week with George Harvey. That's me and the amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
He always says that. I get up in the morning and look for news, on energy and climate change. Each item I find, I put together a synopsis and a link to the original article, and I put 10 to 15 of those together every day and post them at my website, geoharvey.com, Geoharvey. You know, people who watch this show,
yeah,
I think they must tune out this part because it's always the same.
It's always the same thing.
And Tom and I get together and go over the 21 usually of these that are three a day.
3 7s is 21.
Huh?
3
7s is 21. And we do that on Thursdays. So today is Thursday, the 12th of August. I guess tomorrow's the 13th. Friday the 13th,
isn't it? Uh-oh.
It is,
Better stay in bed all day, huh?
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. And, you know, we talk about these things, and we do that from a script that you can find at whatever site you are getting to watch this by going down to go down there. Where, you know, it's so ridiculous.
Well,
go down there.
I'm going to stick my 2 cents in here.
Yeah, please do.
Well, why is it that you're in the background there?
You clicked double.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, remember?
Well,
just click on yourself once. There you go.
Hey, boy, Joe, I think he's going.
I think so. That was a trick that we learned months and months and months ago.
I forgot it.
And forgot because COVID-19 came, but I happen to remember because I'm half crazy.
Good for you. Well, about this time I usually say that some of these things are very comprehensive and worth talking about.
Worth reading.
We can spend the whole show on some of these things very easily.
Absolutely.
So I'll try and remind you of some of the better ones. And some of the better ones, like I say, are well worth looking up, and some of them are long.
Yeah.
So we'll continue as we were.
There we go. Should we just start?
Might as well. Can't work.
We're starting with a picture of a fire truck. You want to bring that up, Tom? Let's see if I can bring a fire Thursday,
truck up.
And I gotta say, I don't like this picture because the lights on that thing are so bright they make my eyes hurt. Anyway, this is from Clean Technica.
Oshkosh delivers USA's first electric fire truck.
One of my sons, when he was little, had a pair of overalls that had Oshkosh Bagosh on it. Yeah. Oshkosh Corporation announced that it is working to get electric fire trucks into fire stations across the United States, starting with the City of Madison Fire Department in Wisconsin. It is also offering electric trucks for other emergency vehicle services. The trucks are being built on a new Volterra platform.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. And you were telling me, you were talking about the diesel engine that is cleverly concealed in the middle of all of this.
Well, yeah. Basically, a fire truck is a pump.
Yeah.
It's always been just a mobile pump to get the pump to the site so that you can throw water in a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes back to the time when people ran that pump by hand.
That's right.
Okay. And that's what this is here. The electric drives the truck, but the diesel drives the pump.
Yes.
So it's actually a, what would you call it?
It's an electric truck that carries a diesel motor to drive a pump.
Well, there's a word. It's a hybrid.
Hybrid, okay.
Yeah, it is a hybrid.
They have to have that, right now, given the technology we've got, they don't have to have diesel
Well, the
running
electric
it,
battery wouldn't keep that pump running long enough to put a
that's
fire
right.
out.
The pump could have to work for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And anyway, that's that. Do you have more on that?
It's not worth talking
Okay,
about. Let's go to the
we'll go
next
on
one.
to the next one.
You
There
go
is
to
a
the next
picture
one, I
of
got
the
a
San
picture.
Luis Reservoir, and that is this is an article from CNN.
California regulators vote to restrict water access for thousands of farmers and severe drought. They're in trouble.
They're in trouble. I mean, the farmers were depending on these reservoirs for water for their crops.
They can't depend on it.
Orchards and things like that. You know, what happens to an orchard that has no water and goes dry? The trees die.
Well, probably the richest soil in California is in the Imperial Valley.
Yeah.
But the Imperial Valley is a desert.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
they need that water.
They need the water. It's been Northern California that has been
North Central, we'll
the
talk
problem.
about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
California State Water Board unanimously agreed, and I want to point out this is unanimous, agreed to issue an emergency order that bans some farmers, apparently not all farmers, from diverting water from
If they
rivers
made the
and
right
streams.
political contributions, they don't get banned.
I don't think so. I think the question of are you going to save a field of soybeans, or are you going to save an orchard? And obviously, you save a field of soybeans, and you're saving thousands of dollars maybe. But if the orchard dies, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is there's diverting. They're not some farmers are not allowed to divert water from fields and streams in the Sacramento and San Joaquin River watersheds to irrigate their crops. Now,
Well, Sacramento is almost in the exact center of the
yeah,
state.
and the river goes north from there.
Yeah, the San
Actually,
Joaquin, well, there's several river watersheds right around there, and they're all in trouble.
And they're all in trouble. It's really very, very sad.
We've got a couple of quick takeaways.
Okay.
The drought has worsened significantly in California after months of record heat and little precipitation. Well, those who watch the show here know that.
Yeah.
More than 95% of the West is in some level of drought. Okay, 6 states are entirely in drought conditions. There's an interesting map there of the West's historic drought. There's actually 3 maps.
Yeah.
And it looks like about half of the United States is in some form of a drought.
Yeah. And by the way, anybody who wants to check this out for themselves online, the place I go to find out what's going on with the drought is droughtmonitor.unl, which is University of Nebraska at Lincoln.edu. And
Think I'm going to remember that?
well, if you do a search for drought monitor, 2 words.
Okay, remember that.
Do the Google search, and you will find that site.
Yeah.
It comes up very, very soon.
Well, the bottom line is it's dry in the West.
It's
very
horrible.
dry.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you hear people say we've always had droughts, we've always had hard times, but
This is extreme.
different. This is something that has been going on for years and years and years. And not only that, it's not just California. It is the whole
entire
West.
half of the country.
But it's also Algeria and Italy and Cyprus and Greece and Turkey.
All
and
around the world.
And these droughts are just all around the world.
Yeah.
We saw this horrible drought season with fires in Australia last year. And people aren't putting 2 and 2 together if they're going to say we've always had this kind of,
Well, there's no
these
such
things.
thing as global warming. I mean,
Yeah. It's a Chinese
it's a hoax.
Okay, should we go on?
I think we should go on. We got a nice picture here.
We have a picture of Venice. There you go.
Looks like Venice to me, although it shouldn't normally have that much water.
No, it shouldn't. Oh man, this is from CNN also.
Study. Floods are getting worse, and the number of people exposed is 10 times higher than previously thought.
Yeah.
And it's not just in Venice. This is worldwide.
This is worldwide. We've got droughts worldwide. We've got flooding worldwide. Climate change is making extreme flooding worse. A study published in the journal Nature, which is an important journal, concluded the population exposed to those floods since 2000 is 10 times higher than previous estimates as more people migrate into flood-prone areas. But also, although this synopsis doesn't say this, those flood-prone areas are getting bigger.
Well, one of the things they mentioned is low-income communities are the most often at risk because they tend to settle in less expensive areas that are more prone to droughts.
Right, or floods.
And there's a quote from the article.
Yeah.
It's not surprising that we're seeing really large floods that are unprecedented, affecting countries like China. That is exactly what the climate models have predicted.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're up to Friday, August 6th, and we have a picture here of a nuclear power plant. And by the way,
looks like it's actually 3 nuclear power plants.
well, it might be 3 reactors, but
let me get that picture.
It's that, you know, we're going to be talking about a nuclear power plant, nuclear plants in the United States, but that particular plant isn't in the United States. It's in, I think, Bulgaria or something.
And it is 3 plants actually in one location.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell that because you got 3 cooling towers and you got 3 stacks. I wonder why you got 3 stacks.
Well, I don't know. Nuclear plants
coming out of a
nuclear plants tend to have very tall stacks, and I don't know why, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they may be.
Well, there's something coming out of each of the stacks.
Yes,
so
there is.
Something's coming out of there.
However, that is a nuclear plant. It's not a coal burning plant, certainly. Coal burning plants all have funny tracks on angles running from one place to another, so that they can lift the coal from the pile.
Yes. Sort of conveyor belts.
Like conveyor belts, yeah. That plant actually could probably be a gas plant, but according to the caption, it was a nuclear plant.
No, I've just done something.
PV Magazine. What are you doing?
I'm trying to get that thing back.
Oh.
I used the wrong mouse.
You used the wrong mouse. While Tom is doing what he's supposed to be doing, I will attempt to get this back for him. There we go. Now, we have to make it larger.
We got the picture back up, so...
Yeah. Oh, I want to go to the next picture, don't I? There we go. It's a bus, by golly.
Wow, that's a nice looking bus.
Isn't it? Let me go.
Circulator, it says on it, huh?
There we go.
0 electric, 0 emissions. Oh,
0 emissions.
not 100% electric, 0 emissions.
Yeah, and this is, we're up to, where are we up to? Tom and I get confused every once in a while.
Duh.
Okay, this is from Renew Economy. What do you have for a title, Tom?
Get serious. 8 technologies that could eliminate nearly all emissions by 2035.
Yeah, I want to point out something here, and that is we're going to have some very, very disturbing news that sounds horrible. There is good news too, and I just want to keep people in mind of that. This is one of those things.
Well, to talk about 8 technologies that
could basically
do the job.
shut down emissions. A report from California think tank RethinkX says accelerating 8 existing technologies across renewable energy, electric transportation, and lab-grown food, yuck, can do the heavy lifting on climate action and cut greenhouse emissions by 90% within the next 15 years.
Can't do that.
Oh, well, somebody's going to try to prevent it from happening, of course.
Can you say excellent?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with these things, but you know this. Do you have more on this?
Yeah, the article indicates that moonshot breakthrough technologies are not required.
Yeah.
Okay, these technologies, and we're going to list a few of them, they include solar,
Yeah.
they include wind power,
Yeah.
and they include lithium-ion storage batteries, all of which we've talked
We've
about on
talked
the
about
show.
that. Can't they
They're
give
going to
us...
make the cost of carbon withdrawal affordable.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But you know, every time I hear about these things, I think there's nothing exciting in there. Why don't we have something exciting?
Well, there's a reason for it. And
We don't need it.
This last sentence explains it.
Yeah.
We can achieve a net zero future if policymakers stop supporting legacy industries that are getting in the way.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
That's a very true statement.
Absolutely.
Money talks.
Yeah, money does talk. Okay, here is our next item. This, you know, I went looking for a picture of a Nissan Leaf, and I found this picture of a Nissan Leaf that is driving across Mongolia. And I
That's
thought,
interesting. Got a map of the hemisphere on the side of the car, and you can see how much of it is China and Mongolia.
Yeah.
It's all in green.
Yeah. Okay, this is from Clean Technica. What do you got for a title?
Well, I have to figure that out. Nissan slashes price of base Leaf to $28,375 and offers an $89 a month lease plan. Now that's pretty affordable.
That's pretty affordable. And when you consider you're getting a new car and it'll have practically no maintenance, and the cost of fuel is half of what you would expect,
That's a win-win situation.
It sure is. Now, a lot of people, most people I know probably, would not be able to well, let me read the synopsis actually. The base Nissan Leaf with an EPA range of $149 miles, rather.
Not a great range.
Not a great range, but it's a great deal more than most people drive in a day.
Well, that's 15 miles times 2 times 5 days.
Which means that
pretty much
for a normal commute, you could recharge it once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just $28,375, including the destination charge, according to Green Car Reports. With a $7,500 federal tax credit, the cost would be $20,875. Now, a lot of people can't get that tax credit because they don't have incomes high enough to be able to take it. Nevertheless,
you got to be paying taxes before you can get a tax credit.
Yeah, the next sentence really says something. It can be leased for $89 a month. At $89 a month, Nissan gets the tax credit.
Yes.
You see, so they can lease these things at a low price, and there it is. On its way across Mongolia. Okay. Do you have any more?
Mongolia looks pretty barren there, doesn't it?
Well, I always think of Mongolia looking pretty much like that. When I was a kid, there was a station in Chicago, and they used to play movies, and then they would interview after the movies the person who had been in the movie or was responsible or something. So I remember seeing To Hell and Back with Audie Murphy. And then after that, they interviewed Audie Murphy.
On the screen?
On the screen.
He wasn't there.
No, he was there.
Murphy was there in person?
Yeah, I don't know where he was that they interviewed him.
Okay.
But they interviewed him in person. Well, they had a movie about, a really fascinating film about American meteorologists who were stationed in Mongolia during the Second World War.
Yeah.
And the Japanese figured out that they were there. This was important because they were signaling where what the weather was going to be like in Japan. So the Japanese went after them, and they had to escape. And in the movie, they were slogging across the Gobi Desert going, water, water. And after the movie, the guy who was portrayed in the movie said, well, the Gobi Desert wasn't exactly like that. And he showed his picture of the Gobi Desert, and it was slush. It was just slush.
No kidding.
As far as the eye could see. The picture that he had was snow had been melting, and the land was so level that it just made slush. He said, we weren't looking for water. We were looking for a dry place to lie down to so we could sleep. Wow. Anyway, we should get on to our next item.
Takeaway from this.
Okay, good.
The Leaf
is
a city car,
not
a road trip car.
Yes, that's true.
But unless you drive more than 150 miles a day on a regular basis, it's all the car you need.
Exactly.
Okay? You can even plug it into a standard 110-volt outlet in your garage.
Absolutely.
Okay? And the biggest limitation, and this is what I think mentioned already, is range. 149 miles is still not a lot.
It's not a lot.
And charging it away from home may be an issue.
So if you are going to go if you're going to drive to California, don't use your Leaf. Rent a car,
right?
Or go by train. Our next item, we're up to Saturday, August 7th.
Yeah, we get a nice picture here.
Well, we have a nice picture, but a very disturbing story. This is from the Guardian.
I can't get that picture up.
Yes, let's
Come
get the
on,
picture
you.
up. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
I moved
Okay.
the mouse and the cursor doesn't move.
Well, Tom
Well,
has...
it's an interesting picture of the Gulf Stream, right?
Yeah, Tom has a problem here because he's got two mice, and they look so much alike, it's hard to keep them straight. Okay, this is from The Guardian. What do you have for a title?
Well, let's see if I can get you up here.
Get me up.
Well, I get us both up here.
Get us both up. That's good enough.
Signs that the Gulf Stream is at risk of collapse. Now, this is very scary.
This is very scary, and we've been watching this come for years.
We've talked about this.
We have. We've been watching it
This
for
is
years.
very
It's been
scary.
slowing down. Climate scientists have detected indications that the Gulf Stream might collapse, one of the most important potential tipping points in the climate crisis. Researchers found the currents had, quote, an almost complete loss of stability over the last century, end quote. They are at their slowest of at least 1,600 years. And that is something that we have every reason to believe is being driven by climate change. And if the Gulf Stream collapses, it means that worldwide, the weather
Climate will
systems will
change.
just change.
Yeah.
And
It's not going to change for the better.
no, well, you know, farmers depend upon stability.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, people who live in Georgia and Alabama don't spend a lot of money on snowplows. There's a reason for that.
I think so, yeah. I think they figured that one out.
Well, you know, if the climate changes radically, it's going to mean that some farmers are not going to be able to farm the lands that they have been farming, and other lands will open up, perhaps.
Will open up, yeah.
But nevertheless, this is a very disturbing thing, and if the Gulf Stream collapses, the first thing that'll happen, and I don't think they're talking about this happening between now and next Tuesday, you know, this is probably years out, but many years out. The thing that will happen is that Ireland and Britain and Norway and Sweden and
They're
France,
going to be icebound.
well, I don't know that they'll be icebound, but they're going to have cold
They're
climates.
going to have cold, yeah.
And
Not like they have now.
Not like they
I
have
mean,
now.
Southern Ireland is almost like Florida.
Well, you know, I lived in southwestern England at one
That's
time.
pretty warm, too.
And I can tell you, we had palm trees down there.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
different than the palm trees that
Yeah.
you think about because they were like 12 feet tall. And they're not native, but they have got there and are living there. There are scorpions in southern England.
Scorpions, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
along the coast.
Yeah.
They can live there. So this is something that is extremely disturbing. And
Well, a quick takeaway from the article is
Yeah.
scientists say a shutdown of the currents would have a devastating global impact
yeah,
and must be prevented.
I don't know how in the world they can prevent this from happening. I just don't see a way.
Well, there's a nice picture in the article. Homes and cars destroyed by the Dixie Fire in central
man.
Greenville. This is from a different article, actually.
Yeah.
But the the link was kind of confusing.
Yes. Well, if you don't mind, are you done with that?
Well, a fast-moving Dixie Fire reached the Northern California mountain town of Greenville on Wednesday.
Yeah. And it wiped it out.
And it wiped it out,
Yeah.
So let's
Okay.
move on.
Our next picture, this is Lake Oroville, and obviously those boats don't have a lot of room to go cruising in.
What is that structure in the foreground?
I don't know. I think it's probably something that boats can attach to.
And that's not a regatta happening. That's where they store the boats.
Yeah, and the picture was taken from an area that is, I believe,
It's on a cliff.
well, it might be, but it's below the water line. I did, you know, I know about.
Well, if you look at the left side of the picture, that's below the water line.
Yeah.
The top side of the picture is on that cliff. Look on the other side of the river,
Yeah,
and you can see the flat area. That's where this is.
yeah,
And then that little piece of there, that's on the left is the slope.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The person who took this picture, I think, was below the. In an area that was normally below the water line,
You think
although you
so,
can
huh?
see that
I
there's
don't
grass
think so.
going around. Well, I looked at the water line that you can see pretty clearly across the other side of the river.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of an analysis on that, and from what I know of perspective drawing, the horizon is actually is actually above the horizon line what you're seeing is as the water line on the other side is below the horizon line. So
Oh yeah.
I think anyway. Let's look at the article from CNN.
California hydropower plant forced to shut down as water levels fall at Lake Oroville. That's Lake Oroville.
Yeah, the Edward Hyatt Power Plant at Lake Oroville, a major California hydroelectric facility, has been forced to shut down due to low water levels. For the first time since it opened in 1967, the state is grappling with an unrelenting drought. Well, we knew about the drought, and we knew that these power plants were operating at way below their potential. And by the way, nuclear power plants can't operate in a drought either.
Well, they need water.
They need
for cooling.
water for cooling.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true of natural gas. And the same thing is true of coal. Thermal power plants need to be cooled, and unless they've got a lot of cooling towers, and those don't work where the temperatures are very high out,
or if there's too much humidity.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. But anyway,
Well, it's dry air going through the cooling towers. If the cooling towers are being fueled by damp air, they're not going to do much cooling.
I think they would, Tom. But let's forget about that and go on.
From the article, Hyatt is the fourth largest hydroelectric energy producer in the state.
Which is big state.
Which is big.
Yeah.
The decision to shut it down comes after drought and heat caused lake water levels to plunge to all-time lows.
Right.
Okay. Oroville has dwindled to 24% of total capacity. There's practically nothing left in there.
And what there is would not have a head high enough to drive turbines well.
Probably not.
Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica.
This is a picture here. This is
that
a graph.
Is a picture of a graft of the use of petroleum in petroleum consumption. And what do you have for title?
U.S. petroleum consumption, as you can see in the picture,
Yeah.
decreased to 25-year low in 2020.
Yep. In 2020, 18.1 million barrels per day of petroleum products were consumed in the U.S., a 25-year low. From 2019 to 2020, petroleum consumption decreased in every sector of energy consumption, and it decreased a record 15% in transportation. And that, of course, was because of COVID-19.
I just brought the picture back.
Yeah.
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic was the main driver of the decline.
Yeah.
Motor gasoline accounted for 44% of U.S. petroleum consumption when it reached its lowest level since 1997.
Yeah.
Diesel fuel was decreasing. Jet fuel was decreasing. The only thing that didn't decrease was hydrocarbon liquids such as propane.
Okay.
I don't understand why, but...
Well, propane is used for home heating.
And stuff like
things like that. Okay, we're up to Sunday, August 8th, and we've got an item from Thomas Reuters Foundation News.
Yeah,
that is a picture of Lake Tahoe, and the lake is in drought conditions, and in the cold winter when it was...
That's ice in the foreground.
That's ice in Lake Tahoe. And
there shouldn't be ice in Lake Tahoe.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know those rocks are not supposed to be
they're supposed to be underwater.
Yeah. Okay.
Lake Tahoe in drought on a cold winter day. And Lake Tahoe is also pretty close to Sacramento. We just mentioned Sacramento.
What do you have for a title for the article?
5 key things to watch for in the UN climate report.
Right. Filled with detail and tracing multiple future scenarios, the IPCC report is likely to run into hundreds or even thousands of pages. Well, we know what it is now. It's a couple thousand pages. New research, computer modeling, and data collection will make this report one of the most comprehensive yet. Here are 5 things to look for.
I got the 5. I'll
read
them real quick.
Off, yeah.
The first one is scientific confidence.
Yeah.
New research in nearly every area of climate science.
Yes.
Okay, second one is 5 futures, hypothetical scenarios used to project climate change over the next century. So these guys are studying it in depth.
They're studying it. They spent a long time on this report. I think it was 7 years.
Carbon budget. Additional greenhouse gas emissions that can be released before 1.5 degrees centigrade rise.
Not
what
much.
you can get away with. Okay?
Yeah, not much.
Regional details, and they give you regional breakdowns.
Yep.
Okay, finally, weather extremes, record-breaking floods, fires, heat waves, and other deadly extremes, which are happening as we speak.
They're happening. They're already going. And we will get back.
The IPCC reports typically focus on the most likely climate scenarios, but this time they're also looking at some low probability events that nevertheless could be very damaging.
You know, one of the things that I have found disturbing about what's been going on in the last 6 months, the last year, is that it's clear to me now that the climate change is progressing far faster than anybody thought it would. And that's profoundly disturbing.
Profound, yes, it is.
Okay, we've got another one here.
Yeah, we got another picture. Oh, there we go.
And this is a picture of a flood. And this particular item is from the BBC, and Tom is studying that flood. Should I read the title?
I'm trying to figure out what all of those things are. The little things sticking up look like chimneys.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's.
See, we got the trees, and we got these little things sticking up all over.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a mangrove forest, but it seems to be too sparsely populated for that. This is from.
Well, we've touched base on what this is going to talk about already. So
yeah.
Climate change. Low-income countries can't keep up with the impacts.
Low-income countries struggle to protect themselves against climate change. Officials and experts have told the BBC. Organizations representing 90 countries say their plans to prevent damage have already been outpaced by climate-induced disasters, which are already getting worse. Now, I want to point out to everybody, and it doesn't matter whether it's poor countries or poor people who live among us, in order to deal with climate change, we've got to have everybody on. We cannot have the United States fix climate change while China doesn't. Everybody's got to be working on this.
Absolutely.
And in terms of local,
can't do it alone.
That's right. In terms of local, if we have half the people in Brattleboro switch to electric cars, and then we've got a whole bunch of people who are not very wealthy and can't get electric cars and have to rely on their old Buick V8s, you know, it isn't going to work. We've got to have everybody doing this. And that means that a certain amount of assistance has to be given to a lot of people. This is not socialism.
That's reality.
This is reality. Yeah. Okay. Should we go on?
Let's see. Well, I'll give you one quick sentence out of here.
Please do.
A report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is the OECD, showed developed countries had made nearly $80 billion available in 2018 as total climate finance, but found that only 21% of that money was provided for adapting to climate impacts, while most went toward cutting carbon emissions. Now, cutting carbon emissions is a good idea.
Yeah, but
I think it's more important to adapt to climate impacts.
We have to do both.
We have to do both.
Yeah,
really.
We're going to have a lot of people looking for a place to live. I mean, we're going to have people from the Marshall Islands moving to Brattleboro, and housing is already bad enough.
Why would they do that?
They got to live somewhere.
Well, we got a nice picture coming up of an ice boy.
Well, it's at least cool there, unlike what it is outside today.
Let's see if I can't get this picture up here. I got to do a couple of things here.
And that.
And
okay, this is from a publication called New Age.
That's an interesting looking iceberg, isn't it? It looks like the sun has been
beating upon it. Okay, what do you got for a title?
Well, I'll have to pull it up and figure that out.
I can read it if you
Experts approve key UN climate change science report.
Well, this is the report that we were just talking about. They approved it. A critical UN science report will provide the most comprehensive and up-to-date assessment yet of the state of the Earth's climate, has been approved by representatives of 195 countries. IPCC delegates had been locked in virtual negotiations for 2 weeks, vetting the summary of the report. So these people from 195 countries spent 2 weeks going over the 30 some odd pages in the summary and making sure that it was exactly what they wanted.
Well, based on published research, it could forecast a temporary overshoot of the 1.5 degree target of the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
A temporary overshoot. That's the first I've heard that one. And upwardly revised estimates for long-term sea level rise.
Yeah. This is.
But that the last one is significant.
We've got more coming. It's not pretty. You have more, Tom?
No, I got it.
Okay, so we're up to
Monday,
August 9th, and I should explain this picture. This is the Lee River. I went out looking for a picture of China. I happen to really like pictures of the Lee River.
Oh,
those
okay.
mountains and so forth. The
Oh,
fishermen.
there's a cormorant.
Yeah, they're fishermen are
Using birds.
using birds to do the fishing.
Yeah.
They send the birds out, and the birds catch the fish, and then they go back to the fishermen, and the fishermen take the fish away
Well,
from
don't
them.
they have a ring around the bird's
They
neck
have
so they
ring-
can't eat the
Yeah,
fish?
they can't swallow the fish. If they catch a fish which is the size they like, they can't swallow it. If they catch a fish that's a lot smaller than that, they can swallow that. Yeah. Okay. This
Interesting picture,
isn't it?
Nice.
Countryside's
Pretty
amazing.
area.
Yeah. This is from the BBC.
Let's see if I can't get something more about it. Why China's climate policy matters to us all.
Yeah. China's carbon emissions are vast and growing, dwarfing those of other countries. Experts agree that without big reductions in China's emissions, the world cannot win the fight against climate change. China's president, Xi Jinping, and I'm sorry about the pronunciation because
I think they use X as SH.
Xi,
So it would be she.
Xi Jinping, okay,
Yeah.
good, has said his country will aim for emissions peak before 2030.
That's
We're looking
coming
to
up.
reduce emissions 50% by 2030. He's going to try to stop having them grow by 2030. That's
Well,
a very different
You
set
got to
of
look
goals.
at China. They have a huge population.
Yeah,
It's 1.5 billion people.
yeah,
That's more than Brattleboro.
it is.
And it's got explosive economic growth.
Well, that's
So
the deal.
China's
They
very
want that
significant.
explosive economic growth, and they're dependent on coal for a bunch of
This
stuff.
is from the article. They argue it has a right to do what Western countries have already done, releasing carbon dioxide in the process of developing its economy.
Except
Okay,
for
we've-
one thing.
We've done it. They haven't done it yet.
Yeah, a lot
they
of
want to
people
do
in-
it, and
A
it's
lot
gonna
of
affect
people
the
in this
world.
country, it's been going on for over 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
People didn't know. Most people didn't know. And in China, they know.
Yep.
So I don't think that's a fair, I understand what they're saying, but I don't think it's fair. And the other thing is, from a
Well, we've done it, but it was
policy
in the past.
point of view,
Now,
it's-
China's going to say, "Hey, you guys did it." We're going to say, "No, we don't want you to do it."
yes, well,
And
the
there's
other thing
probably
is
other reasons behind that.
they are working in a way that would destroy the world economy
That's one of the reasons.
and the ecology. Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica. And what do you have for this, Tom?
Is that the Acropolis?
It sure is.
How about that?
Again, I went out looking for a picture, and I thought, I was looking at civilization, pictures of civilization, and I thought,
Well, the
there it
article
is.
says, "Where is our civilization going?"
No, that's what the caption
That's for the
says.
picture.
Yeah,
Tipping points with world climate starting. How to respond?
right.
This is significant.
Yeah, I try to remain positive, but increasingly evidence points to our breaching tipping points that can't be remediated. There are ice sheets melting, ocean currents changing, record heat in Siberia. I think the answer is hope and work for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Well, from the article, renewables will generate massive amounts of cheap power. We must decide how this power is used.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we are up to this. And this particular article is from the Met Office. And by the way, they didn't provide that picture either. I went and looked for a picture of...
Put the picture back up. Kind of ominous.
It's
That's
ominous.
Smoke.
So what do you have for a title for the article, Tom?
Well, I have to look it up. Landmark report stresses the urgency of the climate crisis.
The latest report from the IPCC, we're going to be dwelling on this for probably weeks.
Well, it's very significant right now.
Yeah.
It really is.
The latest report from the IPCC, to be published August 9th, and of course we've gone past that, stresses the urgency to protect the most ambitious target of the Paris Agreement for global temperature rise to remain below 1.5 degrees Celsius. it says emphatically that action needed for a stable climate cannot be delayed. That's from the Met Office, which is the UK's meteorological official thing.
Okay. Well, the report highlights the human influence on climate.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from the article. There is no scientific reason to delay action.
No, there's a very good scientific reason to act quickly.
To not delay
And there has been for years, and we've had people preventing that from happening. So, should we go on?
Yeah, we got another picture coming up here.
This is kind of, this picture is a map, obviously, and it shows the rainfall from Hurricane Harvey. And that's light
Houston.
area in the Houston area is...
That is Houston?
That's 33.5 inches of rain in a course.
Well, it rained, what, for about a week? Every day, constantly?
Man, yeah, I know.
But it's interesting, that picture. It rained heaviest right in Houston.
Yes. Okay, this is from CNN.
Whoa.
You want me to read?
Was that wild weather caused by climate change? Scientists can now say yes with confidence.
Okay. Historic heat waves are so clearly caused by human-driven emissions that researchers can easily link them to climate change. Scientists at World Weather Attribution say this year's Northwest heat wave would have been, quote, virtually impossible, end quote, without it. And,
There's a map in this article that says regions of the world where the IPCC, what we just talked about, has high confidence that humans have contributed to hotter weather since 1950. Only the eastern U.S. and West Central Africa escape.
Yeah.
It's been getting hotter everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, our next item, there is a picture of a coal-burning power plant.
Well, let's get that.
And our next item is from Utility Dive.
It certainly is. That's a picture of a coal-burning power plant.
Yeah.
You could have fooled me, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what was it you talked about? All
those angular
those
things.
Angular
You see them on the
things,
left
yeah?
there. There's.
That's evidence it's a coal plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
What do you have for title for the article?
Push for green energy could strand more than $68 billion in coal and gas assets.
An ongoing. That's just the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Really. An ongoing push to expand renewable energy generation in the United States could strand, this is just the United States, could strand at least $68 billion in coal and natural gas power plant investments. And a Standard & Poor Global Market Intelligence report says the assets at risk include both coal and gas investments equally. And the thing that's interesting about this is they're talking about natural gas investments that were just made last year.
They're still building some of them.
Not very many. The rug has been pulled out of natural gas construction.
Well,
Last year,
half of these $68 billion are in gas-fired baseload generation.
Right.
Which is what you just talked about.
Yeah, and
the other half is in pollution controls.
Yes. And what happened last year, there was 43%, as I recall, of the new power plants in the United States were natural gas. That's last year, 43%. So far this year, it's been 8%.
Didn't we talk about that?
We did.
Yeah.
The rug has been pulled out from under the industry. It's collapsed.
As I'm fond of saying, it's the economy, stupid.
That's right.
Or the economics.
Yep. Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica, and we have a picture of a Tesla without a grill. Why do they have cars with no grill?
I don't know. I'll have to ask Mr. Tesla about that. Nice looking little car, though.
Yeah. What do you got for a title, Tom?
Tesla Giga. Shanghai's new production rate is 450,000 a year. Tesla Giga Shanghai's new production rate. Giga Shanghai is the plant.
The name of the plant. Tesla's Giga Shanghai reached a milestone earlier this month. It has an annualized vehicle production rate of 450,000 Model Y and 3. Last year, Tesla met a goal of delivering 500,000 plants globally. Now they're talking about making that 1 million.
It's a little bit confusing, but these are the names of the plants.
Everything that Elon Musk does is confusing.
Yeah, but he's making money.
He sure is.
With Giga Texas and Giga Berlin coming online this year, Tesla may actually reach that goal quite soon.
Absolutely. Okay, we are up to Wednesday.
And we got another picture
August.
there coming up.
Yeah.
How'd that picture get up there already?
Well, you know, I've got, just for the fun of it, we should explain that I control which picture is there. I'm making him go back and forth. And Tom controls whether the picture is going to be showing that picture or a picture of us or a picture of one of us or whatever.
Well, that's a picture of the United States, the northwestern United States,
it's actually
and a little bit of Canada.
No, it isn't. Sorry about that, Tom. There's no Canada in there. This is a picture of the western part of Oregon with a little bit of Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the thing to focus on here is, okay, Portland, 101 degrees. Hillsboro, 115 degrees. 115 degrees in Oregon? Are you kidding me?
I don't think that's ever happened, has it?
Oh man, it's brutal, and it's in a place where people aren't just not used to anything close to that kind of heat.
Well, the article talks about that. Well over 100 million people are under heat alerts.
That's almost a third of the United States. This is from CNN. As if hundreds of wildfires, crippling drought, and a summer marked by a once-in-a-lifetime heat wave were not enough, more than 20 million people in western United States are on alert again, ahead of another historic heat wave. They're not alone. Over half the United States is under heat waves alerts this week.
There's an interesting video on this site and some good maps.
Yeah?
Okay. Another massive area of high pressure is strengthening along the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Now, this was written last week.
Yes.
Okay, because I think it's there already.
It's there.
And will set the stage for a classic heat dome. Okay. This will cause temperatures to soar 20 to 25 degrees above normal. I think it's happening right now.
Yeah, it is.
It is not just the West that will be baking in the August heat.
It's Brattleboro, right here.
We're at the edge of it. We're just at the edge of it. This will cause temperature to soar 25 degrees, but it's not just the West that will be baking in the August heat. Much of the entire nation will be as well. And if you look at the entire nation, it's the western half of the nation, no question about it. The eastern half, it's a strip along the eastern seaboard. It doesn't quite seem to hit Vermont.
No, Vermont is hot, but it's not hot by these standards.
Not this kind of hot.
Yeah. Today we're supposed to see 95, which is extremely hot.
That's hot. Yeah.
But these people are looking at 115. Okay.
Well, heat advisories have been issued from the Central Plains to the northeastern urban corridor, which doesn't include New Hampshire and Vermont.
Right. Okay. And
another picture coming up
we have
here.
a picture. This is a scary picture.
This is the Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah, and those girls look like people I would not want to meet as I walk down Elliott Street in the middle of the night.
The Extinction Rebellion people are interesting. They do some interesting stuff.
Yeah, they do.
They do to get the message across.
Okay, now the light is at the end of the tunnel. Actually, it's not the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's the thing that says maybe everything is not bad.
Well, I'll go along with that.
What do you have for a
Frightening
time?
new climate report also holds the seeds of hope.
Yes. The latest report that just arrived from the IPCC is not pretty, but in a year defined by searing heat waves, torrential floods, and raging fires, it is encouraging that the same report that is so frightening also suggests a strategy to alleviate some of the most devastating projections. I got to say, if the Gulf Stream stops and we don't have any technology that I'm aware of that could prevent that from happening,
the entire climate of the world will change.
we're going to have to go into scramble to stay alive mode, I think.
Well, we're not going to be as hard hit as Europe.
I actually, yes, absolutely agree with you, but it's going to be hard to.
It's going to be bad for everybody.
It's going to be bad for everybody worldwide, and the ramifications of that, we're starting to talk about biblical events here.
Well, there's an interesting video on his site.
Yeah.
It says wood pellets. A green energy loophole has devastating impact. It's 6 minutes. And
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're devastating the forests to the southeastern United States.
Right, in Georgia.
Shipping the wood pellets over to Europe where
Europe.
they're burning them.
Yeah, and they're regarded as renewable energy
And that's
there.
supposed to be green.
And, well, the thing is, when they went to Georgia, the people in Georgia said, well, wait a minute, you want to power a power plant with this? We like our forests, you know.
So they're losing them anyhow.
And so the people from Drax, which is the big power plant in England where the fuel is used, promised that it would be just forest falls and forest waste and things like that.
I think they lied.
What
I've
they
seen some
said,
pictures of it.
what they said
Well,
was
this-
going to happen.
These pictures here, they show devastation.
It's devastation. They said they were going to do that, and then they went in immediately and started clear cutting forests in Georgia, big forests.
They're taking everything.
Yeah. Now in Vermont, we have a law. We have laws about clear cutting.
Yeah. Fortunately.
You are allowed to clear cut small areas, but not big areas.
Right.
And there are limits on what you can do.
Right.
And you know, we do have a lot of biomass plants that use wood products to
Right here in Vermont.
right here in Vermont. However, those plants are run with forestry experts on staff.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and you know,
At least the one in what's it, Plattsburgh?
is it
Burlington.
Burlington.
Yeah, Burlington's got a town-owned power company, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's
We
Burlington.
have a bunch of those little companies
Well, the
still
one in
left.
Burlington's really fairly large.
It's fairly large, and it was the one that made Burlington what a lot of people call the biggest, the first city to be 100% renewably powered.
Yeah.
In terms of technicalities, and sorry, it's Greensburg, Kansas that it was the first. But Greensburg, Kansas has a population of about 850. So, you know, technically it's a city, but sorry, gang, that's the one that is the county seat of Kiowa County, and we've had
We
the
get
picture of the wind turbine at the hospital.
Right.
Where
right.
in order to get from the parking lot to the hospital,
You
you
gotta
have to
pass the wind
walk
turbine.
under the wind turbine. And that has always perplexed me. I think they must shut that turbine down if the conditions are such that it could ice.
Well, Burlington Electric does have a tree expert on their staff.
I think they have two,
They
actually.
may have them, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they you know, they have their forests that they use just for this, and
so they're not a problem.
they're not the problem that
They're not the problem for sure.
Drax is. You
Yeah.
know, Drax is burning, I don't know how many tons of wood a day, but I would bet that it's hundreds of thousands.
Well, Drax is in it for the money. Burlington Electric isn't.
I have my opinions of what, you know, there are certain things that I think we should not allow C corps to run, and utilities are one of those things. I think a utility should be a nonprofit or a B Corp or government owned or something.
I couldn't disagree.
And as a B Corp, they can make money. They can have a
They're
profit.
entitled to make money.
They just have to explain what they're doing to the environment at the same time. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, we got another nice picture coming up
We
here.
do
I'm gonna
indeed.
Put that picture up.
I scheduled this one for last.
That's a nice tree. That's a really nice tree.
Well, it reminds me, this picture reminds me of the parts of the Midwest where I lived when I was young. I lived in Illinois. It was flatter than that in Illinois.
Can't be flatter than that.
It can be flatter than that. And I lived in Kansas. Actually, in Illinois, we lived on a plain that was very, very flat. But when I'd take my bicycle into the middle of town, I went down a hill, and it was a drop down to the river in the last little bit. But you know, the rivers are below the rest of the plain. In Kansas, I was born in Kansas, and there were parts of Kansas where this would be considered flat, but there are other parts that were, you know, just.
Looks pretty flat to me.
Yeah, well, it looks flat to a person from Vermont. What can I say? But I like it. You know, I enjoy seeing that sometimes.
Why rural America is key to climate change policy.
Yeah, and here again, we're getting into the business of everybody's got to be at least coming along in this. Rural areas represent 86% of persistent poverty counties in the United States. When we think of poverty, at least when I think of poverty, I think of urban areas primarily. But poverty is a big deal in a lot of counties.
Well, if you look at the numbers, Vermont is loaded with poverty.
I guess it is.
And you've got people living out there in the country that the only income they have is from their little farm.
In my case, the only income I have is social. Well, it's not quite true. I do get a little bit of money from writing, but basically it's Social Security.
Well, so do I.
No, that's not a lot of money. Rural areas represent 86% of persistent poverty counties in the U.S., and over 50% of rural black residents live in economically distressed counties. Addressing the climate crisis and lagging economic vitality will require federal investment in building a new climate equity for rural America.
This is a very long article.
Yes.
There's a lot of meat in it, so if you got the time,
yeah,
read it.
This is from GreenBiz. I just don't see how we can get out of the climate crisis without bringing all the poor people with us. And I'm talking about people who are much poorer than you and I, Tom, even though we haven't got 2 dimes to rub together. You know, there are a lot of people in this world who just can't, you know, they can't go out and buy an electric vehicle. They have to keep, if they're going to be commuting to work, they have to keep using the car that they've got, which is a 1986 Oldsmobile with a V8 engine. You know, it's whatever happened to come to them when they had $75 to buy a car.
Every time you turn it on, the gas gauge goes down.
Yes. And I think this is true locally, and it's true worldwide. We've got to have everybody cutting their emissions, whether they can afford to.
Quick takeaway from the article.
Yeah.
A new climate economy, one that reduces greenhouse gas emissions to net zero, will create jobs and uplift economically disadvantaged communities.
Yeah.
That's basically what you were saying.
I'll tell you what I think would be a lovely idea. If the United States put together solar little plants that people could use on their rooftop of their grass shacks, you know.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
We've seen pictures of
this, different pictures. And you have a little solar panel and a little battery and, you know, a computer and a monitor.
And a television set.
You know, it's all there. I have a monitor, by the way, that's this big, and it runs on 12 watts.
That's good.
You know.
12 watts, that's nothing.
Well, I researched it, and I found I got it from the information from the DOE, and I found this monitor because I want to be able to run my blog if the power goes down, and that means I'm going to be running on battery backup. So I need a battery backup and the little bitty monitors that I've got for the Raspberry Pis are too small. But if you put together that little solar panel, that little battery, that little, you know, the Wi-Fi, the whatever it is you're going to package in that, and you put together a $1,000 package, which is pretty small, and then you distributed 100 million of those, you'd be putting $100 billion into little bitty units that are distributed to poor people who have no electricity, and you know, this would cover.
You're talking worldwide.
Worldwide, you know, you're talking about 100 million units, so you're probably talking about affecting the lives of 500 million people, and each one of them, when they turn on their TV, there's a little sign at the top of the TV that says, "Brought to you by the United States of America." And what is that going to do? And what are those people going to do when they discover that they can get a bank account and spend money on the internet? Because they're not going to spend much, but what they do spend is going to be spent in the direction of the people who have done them the good.
Interesting. Good public relations.
Not only good public relations, but it means that all of those people suddenly are customers. They're not customers now.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Everybody knows what we know about that at this point. It's time to say goodbye.
Let me get
We're
that
2 minutes
up.
over. So I will wave,
Well, I'm gonna wave
Tom will
goodbye.
wave. Goodbye until next time.